Welcome to the PhysicsPlace, the place to learn about physics, and in this video I'm going to talk about different types of energy and how they can be converted, so how one energy can be converted into another form of energy. First, I will start with a list with all the different energies we have in physics. We start with this example. We have a table with some books on it, and we have another table which is a bit higher with the same amount of books. The difference between these two energies is that this one has more potential energy because the height is larger. So if the height goes up, then there is more potential energy. The other thing which can also influence the potential energy is the weight. So if you have, for instance, a small rock and you drop it on your toes, then it doesn't hurt that much. And if you have a very large, heavy rock and you also drop it on your toes, then it will hurt much more because it had more potential energy, even if the height was the same. So if something has a height and a mass, then it has potential energy. Then next one has to do with movement. As you can see, we have a bike and we have a truck, and if they both move, they both have kinetic energy. Kinetic energy has to do with the motion, and it has to do with the speed they have and also with the weight they have. Even if they go the same speed or the same velocity, then still the truck will have a lot more kinetic energy because it is a lot heavier. In this example, we have multiple types of energy. First of all, we have thermal energy or heat. When you keep your hand close to the candle, you will feel the heat, so that's thermal energy. And you can also see the flame, so there's also radiant energy in the form of light. This is a light source, so it makes light, and therefore this is radiant energy or light. And finally, the candle itself, there's chemical energy inside it. Normally you don't notice it, but when you light it on fire, then it will burn and then the chemical energy will be released. There's also chemical energy in wood, in oil, in gasoline. Everything that can burn has chemical energy in it. Also our food, when we eat our food, then we use the chemical energy to keeping our bodies warm and to move and to just live. So there's chemical energy in stuff like food, like different kind of materials, and it's being released when it's heated. Here you can see some which we already saw. You can see the flash, so there is radiant energy. There's also thermal energy because it's pretty hot in here. And of course, there's also electrical energy. So that's also a type of energy. This one is a little bit more difficult. You can see elastic bands here, you can spring here. If you put force on it, they will have elastic energy in it. So if you put force on it, then your force will be converted into elastic energy. And if you let it go, then you will see that it flies away. So the elastic energy will be released. And it can also be in other materials like in metals or in springs. And finally, this one, you probably recognize the sign. It also has to do with the sun. This is nuclear energy. Nuclear energy is different than chemical energy because it doesn't really burn. The sun also doesn't really burn, but it has to do with the fact that the atoms are changing. So it's like really inside the atom, it's changing, and that's called nuclear energy. So all these types of energy can be converted one into another. Sometimes you have one energy and you can have multiple energies out of it, and sometimes you need multiple energies to just make one. And I will give you a few examples how you can make new energies from other energies. So if you have one type of energy, it can be converted into another type or in more than one type of energy. And it's very important that energy is never lost. So if you have a certain amount of energy in the form of light and you will make heat out of it, then all the energy will go to heat or it will go to other types of energy, but we will never be lost in nothing. For example, here we have a lightning flash and we have electrical energy, and that electricity will go away and it will be transformed or converted into thermal energy because it gets really warm in here, and in radiant energy because you can see the flash. So the electrical energy inside this thunderbolt will be converted into thermal energy and into radiant energy. If rocks are falling from a certain height, or if water is flowing from a certain height, then we have potential energy because it had a certain height. That's disappearing because it's going down, so the potential energy is going down. It's losing potential energy, and it's converted into kinetic energy because it starts moving. When the rocks are on top, they are just stationary, so there's no kinetic energy. The water on the top is stationary, no kinetic energy. And when it starts going down, then the potential energy is changing into the kinetic energy. This one again, we already saw it. We have chemical energy in the candle, and when we light it, then it will burn, and the chemical energy will be converted into thermal energy, into heat, and into radiant energy. And this one, imagine you're going up, you're standing here and you're going slowly up, then electrical energy is needed for that. This one works on electricity, and the electrical energy will be needed to give you potential energy, because you're going up, so you will be at a bigger height, so you will have potential energy, but of course also kinetic energy, because you're not stationary, you are moving, so you also have kinetic energy. So electrical energy is converted into potential energy and into kinetic energy. And finally this one, we have a rocket, there's fuel inside, so that's chemical energy, and when the fuel is burning, then different kinds of energy will be released. First of all, thermal energy. You can imagine if you're standing here that it's really hot here, so there's thermal energy. Of course also radiant energy, because you can see the light coming from here, so this is a light source, so there's also radiant energy. But there's more, also kinetic energy, because the rocket was standing still and it's getting kinetic energy, it's starting to move upwards, and because it's moving upwards, it's also getting potential energy. So now we have one type of energy at the beginning, and then we have 4 types of energy at the end, and none of this energy is lost. Of course, we only want to go up, and we want a certain height, so you can say that the thermal and radiant energy is not important for us, but it's not being lost, it's still there, we just don't use it. That's it. I hope you now know the different kinds of energy we use in physics and how you can convert them from one to another. Please like this video to let me know that you found it helpful, and of course subscribe for more videos. Thanks for watching.